Out of all the recent ghost Pokemon we've been getting, I'd say the scariest has to be Fluttermane. Well, not really in terms of lore that we get presented with in the video games or even other story-based interactions, but its mere existence makes me shudder after having been around it for the past 2 years. The only Paradox Pokemon to be partially ghost type, it obviously stands out from the group. The origin of this Pokemon is pretty much, yeah, it came from another universe and just so happens to look like a Pokemon from our universe, the same as all Paradox Pokemon. But I think it was an interesting way to reiterate the design of Misdreavus, because for one thing, the Culture magazine and Pokédex entries claim that it's a pterosaur when no, that's a big Misdreavus with feathers. Aside from the spikes, it doesn't really look like a dinosaur or prehistoric reptile, but honestly that's fine because it was meant to be a weird and wacky Pokemon anyway. It's actually pretty similar to Brute Bonnet. Even though it's completely unrelated to Misdreavus, visually and functionally it looks like it could be like a straight up evolution. That is if we ignore Mismagius, though I feel like they could all easily coexist. Fluttermane was designed by Hitoshi Ariga, whose favorite Pokemon is Misdreavus, so I could imagine what it's like to see perfection and just want to make it even bigger. Though personality-wise, they both look pretty different. Sure, the original was a ghost type, but generally it wasn't terribly harmful. It had a cute face and Pokédex entries portrayed it as more of a prankster than anything. Sure, it was stated to bite people and pull out their hair, but that's nothing compared to other Pokemon. Later on, we learned that it feeds off of fear and absorbs it into the red orbs around its neck, so the stories about it started getting a bit more creepy with details about how it doesn't want to give people a little scare, but seems to genuinely want to terrify them. Some Pokédex entries even use the wording of stealing their life force. Oh, and Arceus forbid you put your ear next to one of the orbs and listen to what's inside. But at the end of the day, Misdreavus still uses mostly round shapes and is pretty cute. I feel like Fluttermane's sharper eyes and cackling animation ties into this idea more so, though we don't really get to see it in the story portions of the video games or in additional material being scary or terrifying. Yes, it is an ancient Pokemon, but it's still a ghost type that seemingly has those tendencies. In this year's Halloween event for Pokemon Masters, we got to see it play the part of a creepy Pokemon rumored to be lurking around, so that was pretty cool. I really did enjoy that event, though I did a whole video about it already. It was a fun event and I really do like how they used Fluttermane in it, but at the end of that story it became pretty friendly and partnered up with Iono. The point is that so far in story-based material, Fluttermane hasn't really done all that much. So why then does the very image of his Pokemon instill fear into some people? Well, they decided to make this thing absolutely cracked when it came to battles. Misdreavus has a fine stat spread with most of the points in special attack, special defense, and speed. Mismagius did the same thing but increased the numbers because it was an evolution. So yeah, Fluttermane just went ahead and built on that except to an astronomical degree. Yeah, it doesn't have a lot of HP, attack, or defense, but when the other stats are that high combined with an amazing type combination and some good moves, it really became a problem. Being banned in fan-made single battle formats and otherwise appearing in several VGC teams. I myself haven't been doing much battling in Generation 9 and so many other people have discussed Fluttermane here and there and, done actual calculations, so I haven't really been blind to all the talk around this Pokemon online. Where I do spend most of my time battling is in the Pokemon trading card game, and even there I'm not immune to Fluttermane. Now this isn't a totally busted card, but it's a very effective piece to an overall strategy of ancient Pokemon, which already have access to so many other great cards. Fluttermane has a simple ability, one that negates the opposing Pokemon's ability as long as they're both in the active spot. It's a very good stall card and pivot and can even spread a little damage here and there. In the TCG it's way more balanced than in the video games, but it is still a pretty good card. Also the art on it is really cool. I know a good amount of people dig the full art promo, which is nice, but there's really something about how spooky the standard version looks. It really does play into the ghost typing very well. I'm just really glad they haven't made like a Fluttermane EX because I could only imagine how they'd translate those stats from the video game into a card. Moving forward, I really hope that we get to see it pop up in the anime and get its own episode. Honestly, I wish that for all Paradox Pokemon, because while their designs are pretty cool, the lore behind each of them individually is a bit lacking. I know how they're supposed to be interpreted, and when looked at as a whole in the context of Scarlet and Violet's story, it's well done. But I'm not the biggest fan of the main Pokédex entries either stating that there isn't a lot of information or just taking in universe sensationalist magazines and putting that as the entry. I totally get what they're going for, but I also feel like it strips the Pokemon of some much needed personality. I really don't want to know what other people think about them, I want to know how they feel about the world around them. Like I said, the artwork in the TCG is perfect and gives it a lot of personality. As these Pokemon make their way out of Area 0 and into the rest of the world, I could see Fluttermane becoming an urban legend of the jungles. Because could you imagine walking out there in the middle of a night and seeing this giant shadow float by you? I'm sure that in reality it just wants to be friends, but I could totally see it being more of a harmless prankster like Misdreavus was. Just that being a giant dinosaur, you're bound to scare off anybody. I'd really love to see future Pokédex entries build on this kind of idea, but until then, a cool Pokemon like Fluttermane has its personality shaped by the fans. And while they haven't done anything abhorrent to it like in other cases, I kind of want to be afraid of this Pokemon because it's a ghost type and not because it's about to one-shot me with a Choice Specs Moonblast. So let me know what you think about about Fluttermane in the comments below and what kind of lore you would like to see built for it. Personally, I think this has become one of my favorite Paradox Pokemon for the mere fact that I see it everywhere, but also because it really does just look like it could have been an alternate evolution from Misdreavus. There's something about it that makes it feel a lot more natural as opposed to the others. Anyway, I should get out of the jungle before it gets even darker, lest I run into the terrifying Pterosaur. Thank you to every channel member for your continued support, including the Great Gators, DeAndre, Arctitus Beowulf, Adrift Shredder, Justin Dow, Zal Rome, Alex Switch Shiny Hunts, Tyler Hopper, Lockadox, Koi13, Cemetery Hill, Pastel Blood, Cosmo Zero, Rainfrux, Cheez-It62, Gator Kid 509, TF, Mathaclog 947, Tai Shirai, Justin R, Phantom, and Quago. If you would like to support, see your name here, get access to emotes for comments, live streams, sometimes early videos, and our monthly podcast that we're getting caught up on, you can become a channel member today. You can also follow me on Twitter or Blue Sky as well for more memes. Anyway, this is GatorX, and I'll catch you all later.